Well, welcome to the Social Club back up north this week, because that's where it belongs, clearly. Yeah. I thought the lads did really well last week. We found out the answer to the age-old question about who was the least popular member of United People's TV. But we're back now with another United influence topic, and whether the title race is in fact back on. Man United engineered a phenomenal victory, let's face it, and thoroughly deserved victory over Chelsea at the weekend. Louis here from 100% Chelsea, Liam's here of course, Ped's here as well, because why not? No Ped, no party, exactly. Apparently.
You fucked out me this
I thought, Louis, we'll start with you on this, because we've had a little bit of a chat about this, and I think the fear is starting to creep in a little bit amongst Chelsea fans here. It's only 4 points now, the gap, same games played.
Well, for me, I've always been a pessimist, so I've kind of been there going, I'll take each game as it comes. You know, it's not done till it's done, all that sort of stuff. And people asked, it was recently the past 3 weeks, even when we were very clear. You know, they're going, Spurs playing well, aren't they? Spurs playing well. But the problem is people have kept doing that. It seems like maybe that's been the effect in the dressing room as well, because we've lost to Palace and we've lost to Man United. So that means we've lost 6 points worth there, and now the gap is very small. And considering they're playing before us next weekend as well, so next week, a weekend after, we're playing them in the Cup next weekend as well. But they can close that gap to 1 point. And what's worried me, what's always been in my head is, you know, the team won the league 2 years ago now, and it was convincing, playing very well. Then we just completely fell apart last season. And then when we have lost this season, it's been the team of last season which completely fell apart. As soon as we went 1-0 down, I think the fact that of Mourinho's obviously knows how to deal with the press, he knows how to use it, and he's done it to his best. Credit to him. I mean, he did it with us, so I can't exactly moan. Sure. But he used the press well. He knows the Chelsea players. He was baiting for blood as well, considering he's lost the previous two as Man United manager against Chelsea. And you know, as soon as we went down, it just their heads just dipped, and we just didn't turn up.
I think this is mad, because I can't see a world where Chelsea just don't win the league. Yeah, I know the gap, because I know it's made it more interesting. But because I don't share the emotional connection, I don't see there's any great deal of need for Chelsea to panic. But I understand that, because of last season, it has sowed the seeds of doubt in their heads that team, it's like the spectre, it's the ghost, you know, looming overhead. Could it come back for one last? It
happened 2 years ago as well, didn't it? And when you won the league 2 years ago, towards the end of the season, you weren't playing anywhere near as well as you had been. You won it very early in terms of you got that rate. You raced ahead and sort of just kept everyone at arm's length. And what's been strange is I had no idea that it was just 4 points yet. You know, and I looked at it, you know, it did creep up very, very quickly. Almost like, the Palace one was like, don't worry, that's a blip. And then next week you look at 4 points, and Tottenham have just been relentless.
Tottenham look like they're really gathering pace.
But I think it's easier to look like you're going to gather pace when you're the challenger. That's easy. It's about keeping the momentum at the top. To be fair to Chelsea, I think the fact that they've got the semi-final next week has come at the perfect time. It gives them that little bit of breathing space.
No, but the problem is we're playing Spurs.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. That psychology doesn't come into it. I don't think it's a cup game. It's almost a chance for Chelsea to say, without the fear of the Premier League being there, a chance to go out and just play them and not worry about it. And if you beat them, it's a big psychological bonus. You know, suddenly Spurs players will be thinking, well, are we good enough to beat them if we to win the league if we can't beat them? And that'll be just being. I think the week after you've got us, haven't you?
Yeah, away to Everton.
That's the big game, mate. I mean, I'm not blown by. No, but listen, we've won 8 in a row. I don't give a fuck. Yeah. We are very good at home.
Everton, and you're there, yeah, exactly.
We are very good at home, and that will be the big one. If you could beat us, I'm just saying, then for you, I think that will be the one that everyone goes, yeah, we've got this.
What do you reckon, Lily? Because the United absolutely and totally dominated the game on Sunday.
I personally think with Chelsea beforehand, up until the Palace game, no one could really get the terms for their tactics, because no one's really played 3 at the back or that kind of system before in the Premiership, and they were well, they certainly done that the way Chelsea have. And
you're doing a disservice to Phil Babb and John Scott.
And no one could really deal with it. One thing I will say is that Chelsea don't have that fantastic starting 11, but he hasn't really rotated the squad, has he? And everyone, I think from the Palace game, a lot of people took note from the Palace game and said, this is how we beat them. We pressed them. This is how we beat them. And I think Mourinho's tactics came out. So I think, moving on, do you think Chelsea's going to win the league? I don't know. After after yesterday, it can be seen that they can be beaten, and not just beaten, but beaten well.
Yeah.
And they're completely out. Mourinho's a great tactician, but he completely out-tacticked them. And
well, it's something Mourinho does.
Coming up.
Mourinho does this very well. You think in the last 4 or 5 years, when a team's look like they're absolutely unbeatable, I go back and it's with great sorrow. I look back on 13-14 and think about the game where Gerrard falls on his face, by the way, not ours. But Liverpool were playing great football. They were playing arguably the best football in the league, and Mourinho went, hang on, I'll work out a way to beat them. Mourinho keeps coming up against these unbeatable teams and showing how to do it. So that's, for me, that's maybe the fear factor.
And that's a big part of it. Not only showing people, but when you take that invincibility, cloak off a team, whether it be Man United that playing in the last couple of years, whether it be whatever it is,
it's the dent of the confidence.
If you show other clubs, if you show other teams that someone is beatable, then that's the big thing, the mental thing. But what I was going to say to you, have they looked tired? Because that's a good point.
See, that's if I said yes, then you'd have the whole debate open up of there's no European football, we're playing once a week. So if to be honest, Manchester United played on Thursday. We didn't. We've had a whole week's rest, so there's not really excuse.
No, but United rotated some of the squad members. Ibrahimovic was on the bench.
But either way, our team have had a full week's worth of rest. Well, the one argument that you could make, but I don't think is valid enough, really, is the whole invincibility cloak thing. That wasn't a full strength team that was out there, and it goes to show. And against Palace as well, we didn't have Victor Moses. You had Pedro playing wing back.
But I think the point Ped's making, it's an aura that a football team carries. And you look at Man United. The Man United at Old Trafford one's the biggest one. Teams would go to Old Trafford going, "Oh my God, it's Old Trafford. We're getting nothing from here before you even turn up." And Chelsea had that, and maybe there's a couple of cracks in this now. This cloak that we've just invented.
Is that the other side of it? Is the other side of it that actually your first team is really, really good, but if Costa's not on it, or because we've seen last year how when he got wound up, you had them, and yesterday he seemed wound up and got that early booking. And then Hazard, has he dropped off recently? Because he doesn't seem to be playing at the same level. I think without those two players, are you the same?
Here's another question as well. What happens if a lot of people take Mourinho's tactics yesterday by man-marking Hazard? Does he just disappear then? 4 points is nothing. If you don't, he's arguably the best player in the league this year, for me anyway. And without him, I just don't see you going on and winning game after game after game.
I think that with our system, exactly the first team, it is very, very good. The problem is though, you put Begovic in. Obviously, he's a great keeper, but if you're not playing regularly, you're not going to have the same effect. Same with Zuma. Zuma's obviously been out, and that was the first game he started, and you could see as well that injury he had last season has significantly damaged his game. He wasn't as quick as he used to be, and I noticed that at Palace as well. And then obviously Azpilicueta is not a wing back. You need a specialist in that role. Alonso's done it for Fiorentina. He's played that position many, many times.
Going to warm up with, didn't he?
Yeah, and then Moses is exactly the same. So obviously it's that we were having this conversation earlier of when we signed those players in the summer. We signed Batshuayi and we signed the other and Alonso. We weren't set up for 3-4-3. The system that we were going to play was 4-1-4-1. So basically after the Arsenal game, Conte's then gone, right, I'm going to play my system, see that works. And it's worked fantastically with the first team squad. And those 11 players that are on the pitch, when they're all fit, I think it could have been a very different game yesterday if it was on Sunday, if we did have those 11 players, but we didn't.
Sorry, pardon my ignorance on this. So the regular back three is Luis Cahill,
Azpilicueta.
And it was in the absence. So Zuma played instead of.
So Zuma played. So Azpilicueta moved out to right wing back, and Moses moved across
to left wing back. Okay,
and then Zuma came in at centre half.
And this is the thing, isn't it? I just wanted to double check that, because that's the one thing everyone said about Chelsea all this season is how would they handle injuries in key areas? Because from a Liverpool perspective, we've played 20-odd combinations, the amount of different things we've tried at the back, and that's the one thing you've had going for you is for the vast majority of this season
stability.
Is settled at the back. When you take a couple of key elements like that, and that's effectively what you're looking at, 3 or 4 changes almost to your defence. So it's not a great surprise that you would stutter as a result, but be interested to see how Chelsea handle that and whether that might actually be that solid basis. If you take that away, do you then have the firepower remaining to kick on? I think you do. I think you're being a bit too downhearted about it.
On paper, I agree. We do have the necessary firepower, But if you put that into practice, players that haven't played regularly, if at all, so Begovic has played in the Cup, but he's not played regularly this season, and the same for Zuma, who's literally just started coming back from the injury. If they're not playing regularly, it's not going to have the same effect. They're not going to be those players that you saw last season for Zuma and Stoke.
I think you're running. No one's even talking about Chelsea's running as well.
Yeah.
I think that you've got some really difficult. I know you've got Tottenham in the Cup next week. You already said that, but some really difficult Premiership games away to Everton. Like you were saying before.
But have you seen compared to Tottenham's running, Spurs have got something like Palace, Arsenal. They've got Man United to play as well. You know, they've got Spurs have got, I think, a more difficult running. All told, but
I don't know. But Spurs don't look like the way Chelsea did yesterday. Spurs look like they're going strength to strength. Spurs lost Harry Kane and brought in Son, and what did he score? Hat-trick, 4 goals or something stupid like that. Was it 2 weeks ago? They've got
They brought in.
There's no way to ever find out. They've got the squad strength and depth, and Pochettino. I think Tottenham were really, I suppose, bitten in the arse last year because they didn't really have the final bit to get over the line, the final bit of impetus is supposed to get over the line, whereas this year they've been there before and they don't want it to happen again. Yeah, and I think the final push, a lot more experience.
That's the thing that goes into Spurs' favour, because I honestly, because we've been kind of looking at the teams around us, I've stopped paying attention to Chelsea because there's no point, because for me Chelsea were over the hill and far away. I was wondering whether Spurs were going to get sucked back into the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th debate, and every time you look at their results, they've just smashed teams off the park, and they of all the teams in the top 6, with maybe Man United added to that, they do seem like they are kicking into a different gear. They're not falling apart; they're actually getting stronger.
Spurs have done exactly what they did last season. For me, they were very quiet to begin with, and they've quietly gone further and further up, and then now they've started to make a lot of noise. And you know they are smashing people, which is exactly what we're not doing. We're grinding out results, but sometimes, well, we're clearly not grinding out a couple which we should have, or we could have tried to get a point of Old Trafford. I would have been happy with that. We could have beaten Crystal Palace. You know, they've been going, and we've just not been doing that.
Very interesting. Anyway, so let us know your thoughts on that in the comments below. Do you think? Hi Tom, thanks. Good reminder. I told you to do this and now I've forgotten. Let's know your thoughts. Is the title race back on, and who do you think will ultimately be the Premier League champion this season? Let us know in the comments below. You can vote by clicking the card in the corner of the screen. If you want to watch more Social Club, you can click this video here and watch. It's about Arsenal players, and how many of them will get into other top sides in the Premier League. Cheers.